Breaking news this Wednesday night. New information about a security situation at Canada's National Microbiology Lab.
There were employees who were dishonest.
What newly released documents reveal about foreign interference and the firing of 2 scientists. Alberta tightly restricts renewable energy. What's behind it and what it means for new wind and solar projects. Taking on Russia's president.
If you really want to defeat Putin, you have to stop being boring.
What Alexei Navalny's widow is urging European politicians to do. And Leap Day loophole.
They still get paid the same amount.
Why many Canadians will work for free on February 29th.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. There's new information tonight about 2 scientists from China who were escorted out of the National Microbiology Lab in Winnipeg in 2019. The husband and wife team were stripped of their security clearance and fired in 2020. The reason has remained mysterious. The lab is a level 4 virology facility, one of a handful in North America equipped to work with the most serious and deadly human and animal pathogens. It's part of the Public Health Agency of Canada, and there's been intense pressure for more transparency about the couple. A lot of documents were released in Ottawa late today. David Akin has been looking through them. David.
Well, Donna, the government has been clear that this was the first major case of foreign interference by China that really came to light, and as you mentioned, came to light in 2019. And we know that these 2 Chinese scientists were dismissed for cause. These new documents do shed some more light on the reasons for their dismissal.
Were dishonest about some of their engagements.
But the big thing that we are learning today is that the Public Health Agency of Canada, their employers, they are responsible, the Public Health Agency of Canada, for the Winnipeg lab, that it really dropped the ball when it came to supervision and security.
A lax adherence to security protocols. I think that there was an inadequate understanding of the threat of foreign interference. I believe that an earnest effort was made to adhere to those policies, but not with the rigor that was required.
David, is the minister suggesting these Chinese scientists never should have been hired at the lab in the first place? And is there evidence they took any top secret information out of the country?
I don't know if that minister is suggesting that they shouldn't have been hired, but we're looking at the activities of the 2 scientists. Were they a bit naive? Yes, this report concludes. Did they get proper supervision? No, they did not, and that goes to the Public Health Agency of Canada. But the report does conclude, and I'll read a quote, that those 2 scientists were, quote, a realistic and credible threat to Canada's economic security. They had meetings with Chinese officials that they did not disclose, and that was one of the reasons they left. But Minister Holland today saying no secret information left the country. However, it looks like some research did, because one of those scientists got their name on a patent registered in China. Donna.
Okay, David in Ottawa, thank you. Alberta's Premier has revealed sweeping new restrictions on renewable energy projects, including a ban on building projects across large swaths of land. Solar, wind, geothermal, biomass and hydro projects will be forbidden on private property the province deems to have good or excellent irrigation and on land suited to host specialty crops. It also bans wind turbines in a buffer zone around what it calls pristine viewscapes to ensure they don't spoil scenic views. Alberta is well known as an oil and gas powerhouse, but it's also emerged as a leader in renewables. Canada's first commercial wind farm was in Alberta, and as Heather Yourex-West reports, today's announcement is seen by advocates of green energy as a setback.
In Vulcan County, Alberta, you'll find the country's biggest solar farm. It covers 3,300 acres of land.
Developing renewable energy projects in the heart of oil country has not been easy. It's definitely been a wild ride.
One that saw tremendous success. More than $5 billion invested since 2019. A sort of gold rush turned green. Until, in a surprise move last August, the Alberta government hit the brakes.
We instituted the pause for one simple reason. We needed an affordable and reliable grid.
With new development halted, the Alberta Utilities Commission spent the last 6 months reviewing concerns raised by municipalities and landowners that Alberta's multi-billion-dollar renewable energy industry was threatening agricultural land. Now the province says its regulator will take an agriculture-first approach, limiting development on farmland and in places where wind turbines might disturb the pretty view.
Let me be clear, there will be no blanket bans on specific types of land. Instead, we are being responsible by ensuring that renewable energy projects do not sterilize agricultural lands.
The Canadian Renewable Energy Association says it has concerns, calling some newly announced regulations unclear.
What industry needs to make large investments in the electricity infrastructure that we need going forward is policy stability. And we don't have that right now. And that's a very difficult environment to try to build in.
When the moratorium was announced, more than 90% of the country's new renewable energy projects were being installed in the province. But within the last year, BC, Saskatchewan, Ontario, Quebec, and Nova Scotia have launched programs to attract those investment dollars there.
Alberta has been a great place to invest, but it's not the only place to invest.
Greengate Power is now waiting to see what other changes are ahead. Alberta's review of the industry was done in 2 parts. The government says more changes will be announced at the end of next month. Heather Yourex-West, Global News, Calgary.
This is now the second largest fire on record in Texas. It has whipped through vast ranch lands in the Panhandle, consuming houses and forcing evacuations. The Smokehouse Creek fire ignited Monday. It's already burned more than 500,000 acres. It's very windy, very dry in Texas, and as Jackson Proskow reports, that fire is still out of control.
There's a desperate search for safer ground as fires scorch the Texas Panhandle, exploding in size and intensity as unusual warmth and wind take hold of the dry brush. At times, gusts have approached 120 kilometers per hour, pushing the flames with incredible speed.
We asked them to leave because it's a very dangerous situation.
More than 10,000 homes are without power. Evacuation orders have sent thousands fleeing. Many more are on standby to leave at a moment's notice.
We've had other fire threats and we've came out unscathed, and this one got us.
In the tiny town of Canadian, Texas, residents like Kelsey Banuelos and her family got out just in time. They've since learned their home burned to the ground, along with dozens of others.
It was heartbreaking. I broke down, but I mean, we were safe. It's just stuff. It can be replaced, but it's still a gut punch. A lot of memories.
Firefighters captured incredible pictures as they drove through the flames, the fire moving so quickly that for a while, workers at a nuclear weapons facility near Amarillo were sent home.
We have evacuated our personnel, non-essential personnel, from the site.
The huge fire sent smoke billowing into the sky, traveling as far as Ontario, shrouding the sun in Toronto. Though it's only February, these types of unpredictable, uncontrollable fires are the new normal in a changing climate. The dangerous weather fueling the flames isn't expected to let up until next week. Jackson Proskow, Global News, Washington.
Severe weather has left a trail of destruction in the U.S. Midwest, including multiple reports of tornadoes. One touchdown in the Chicago area, where toppled trees and downed power lines are being cleaned up. The U.S. National Weather Service says a strong cold front collided with a record warm air mass to trigger thunderstorms and hail the size of golf balls. The violent weather tore buildings apart and flipped vehicles, but no deaths or injuries are reported. Longtime Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell has announced he is stepping down from the leadership position in November. He's been a towering force in the Senate for 4 decades, known for aggressively pushing the Republican agenda. He's 82 years old, and last summer lots of people were concerned about his health after he appeared twice to freeze up while speaking to reporters. He'll continue to serve as a senator until his term ends in January 2027. The U.S. President Joe Biden is fit for duty. That's according to the White House doctor. Biden had his annual routine physical today. It found he fully executes all of his responsibilities without any exemptions or accommodations. Biden's critics have made his age an issue. He is 81, the oldest person to ever hold the presidency. The White House rejected questions today about whether Biden needs a cognitive test, saying neither his doctor nor a neurologist believe it's necessary. Pope Francis was briefly taken to hospital today. The Vatican says he went in for diagnostic testing after his weekly audience this morning. The 86-year-old has been dealing with mild flu symptoms. The Pope is scheduled for an audience with the German Chancellor on Saturday. Less than 2 weeks after the sudden death of her husband in a Russian prison, Yulia Navalny is urging European lawmakers to take up his cause. got a standing ovation as she addressed the European Parliament today. She believes Russian President Vladimir Putin had her husband murdered and that Putin is capable of anything and must be confronted.
Putin is the leader of organized criminal gang. This includes poisoners and assassins, but they are just puppets. The most important thing is the people close to Putin, his friends, associates, and keepers of mafia money.
Eric Sorensen reports on her powerful message and plans for her husband's funeral.
She has emerged as a sudden political force on the world stage. Yulia Navalny challenged the European Union to crack down on Vladimir Putin and what she calls his criminal gang.
If you really want to defeat Putin, you have to become an innovator. You have to stop being boring.
Innovate, like her husband, she says, who found ways to sidestep censorship, urging the West to do more to help the opposition in Russia to spread her husband's message.
You are not dealing with a politician, but with a bloody monster.
With Navalny dead, Putin may have underestimated the reach and the impact of his widow.
Putin and his entourage remain very patriarchal. As sexist as it sounds, they may see a woman as less of a political threat. She may be a way to mobilize more support, and if she proves to be a charismatic figure, it will be a huge help.
Navalny and Navalny's mother, who publicized Russian attempts to keep Navalny's body from being returned to the family, will now hold a public funeral on Friday at this church in Moscow. The Kremlin has cracked down on even small gestures of remembrance, so what will happen at the funeral?
I'm not sure yet whether it will be peaceful or whether police will arrest those who have come to say goodbye to my husband.
But the world will be watching, putting the Kremlin in a delicate position.
These kinds of events do bring people together in ways that authorities can't control, and they will try to crack down, but they can't be too obvious about it. It's a very sensitive issue.
Coming 2 weeks before the Russian election, the funeral will test Vladimir Putin's management of a solemn event that he does not want, whether to restrict or even block the funeral or allow a rare demonstration of opposition feelings on Russian soil. Eric Sorensen, Global News, Toronto.
Families of hostages held by Hamas in Gaza are on a 4-day march to Jerusalem to demand their loved ones be set free. They left Kibbutz Rim today, where the Supernova Music Festival took place October 7th when Hamas attacked. Hundreds of people were killed, more than 200 taken hostage. The march will end near the official residence of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Here at home, Palestinians with loved ones in Gaza are holding a 3rd day of silent protests outside Parliament in Ottawa. They're pushing for the government to fast-track temporary resident visas for their relatives. As Neethu Garcha reports, they say they have yet to hear anything since new immigration measures were put in place 2 months ago.
Hamoud is 5 years old.
Manal Zreik is holding a poster of her nephew and nieces in Gaza.
They are scared for their lives.
The Palestinian-Canadian woman and her husband, Andrew Fleck, are taking part in a demonstration of solidarity and desperation.
It's tough, so they asked, if I could get them over here as soon as possible because they do not have access, to food and medicine.
They don't have clean water, they don't have access to food.
Canadian Palestinians and permanent residents who traveled from across Canada are united by grief and determination for a 3rd day in a row as they stage a silent protest outside the House of Commons in Ottawa.
It's a full, silent, peaceful vigil with banners and signs of our loved ones to tell the government that we have no words left.
Vancouver resident Omar Mansour says he and others have been in limbo since applying to bring their family members in Gaza to Canada through a new program offering 3-year visas.
We haven't seen any of our family members coming to Canada. The government has not been transparent with us about the numbers of people who applied and how they are planning to bring people here, why there is a delay on applications.
There's been not a rejection, not a clarification, nothing. It's been about 60 days. and there's not a single word, and the matter is urgent.
In a statement, Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada outlined the 5-stage process required for this program, adding, the ongoing conflict remains volatile and unpredictable, and Canada's focus is on keeping families together and bringing them to safety as quick as possible. They hope their silence speaks volumes, that the time for action is now, because the stakes couldn't be higher. Neetu Garcha, Global News, Burnaby, BC.
He was celebrated for his stream of consciousness comedy.
It's too late for lunch and it's too late for my career. And
Coming up, how Curb Your Enthusiasm's Richard Lewis is being remembered. Every year, Canadians mark Pink Shirt Day to raise awareness about bullying. This year, it holds even more significance with the introduction of the new federal online harms legislation. Carol Todd knows all about the harms. Her daughter, Amanda, died by suicide after being exploited online and says the bill is welcome. Still, some critics are concerned it's too broad and could have an impact on free speech. Abigail Beeman explains.
I feel happy when my friend is kind to me.
A sea of pink. This Montreal school just won across the country, marking Pink Shirt Day, standing up to bullying.
There's no such thing as girl colors, boy colors. It's not good to bully.
And for some, this Pink Shirt Day holds extra significance.
An act like this, if legislated and passed, would have helped Amanda.
Carol Todd's 15-year-old daughter, Amanda, died by suicide in 2012 after being sexually extorted online. Todd is pleased to see the federal government's long-awaited online harms bill, especially the inclusion of an ombudsman.
Amanda's perpetrator harassed her for 2.5 years, and every time we had to try and find where to go to get images taken down, which was fruitless.
But the government has been getting pushback from those who claim the bill is too broad, concerned about the powers of a government-appointed digital safety commission and the effect on free speech.
There's a democratic accountability piece as well with the introduction of a body that is lawmaker and police and judge, jury and executioners.
We think that a lot of people are just going to sort of bow out of a lot of really important but controversial debates and conversations because of that possibility of being called before the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal.
One of the key questions that's always asked with this is, what do you do with the awful but lawful? And where is the line between awful but lawful and illegal?
Heidi Tvorek was part of the expert group that advised the government on online safety. She says the new version of the bill is dramatically improved.
These all seem to me to be really important discussions that we need to be having, but I think it helps to begin with an understanding that the internet as it currently exists is not a place where everybody who lives in Canada feels that they have the freedom to express themselves.
Tvorek expects much debate as the bill moves through Parliament. Conservatives say they're looking for more criminalization of serious acts rather than bureaucracy. Wednesday, the Justice Minister said while parts of the bill will improve law enforcement's ability to prosecute, it's also key that online platforms take more responsibility. And for victims' sakes, abusive content is taken down quickly. Abigail Beeman, Global News, Ottawa.
Winnipeg Jets fans got to sleep a bit easier last night after days of speculation about the team's future. Well, people generally don't like to be told to calm down. That's exactly what many Jets fans seem to need to hear from the commissioner of the NHL and from the team's owner, a promise to do better to ensure the Jets don't break hearts by leaving a second time. Melissa Ridgen reports.
If I didn't believe in places like Winnipeg, we never would have brought the Jets back.
And with that, a collective sigh of relief from nervous Jets fans. It's been a stressful few days after team owners sounded the alarm that attendance is too low to be sustainable, followed by a visit by League Commissioner Gary Bettman, who brought the team back in 2011 after taking it away in 1996.
He's coming to drop the hammer. He's coming to preach doom and gloom. No.
This fireside chat with fans ahead of a game against the St. Louis Blues was planned before all the worry erupted.
I think that we're very positive and watching that fireside and having Gary Bettman come down in February. Nobody booed and everybody was applauding. I think it's very positive to see that.
Club co-owner Mark Chipman addressed criticisms about season ticket inflexibility and customer service.
We accept the responsibility for it, and we're sorry for whatever inconvenience or insensitivity we may have shown. I can tell you it wasn't intentional. It was more a consequence of just being stuck in a way we did things for 10 years.
And with that, Jets fans are ready to move on.
We all got to chip in a little bit.
What would you like to see Winnipeggers do?
I want to fill the place.
While the team is doing its part, sending folks home with the feeling that everything is going to be all right. Melissa Ridgen, Global News, Winnipeg.
Still ahead, why the first American lunar lander in decades is going dark. Stand-up comedian and actor Richard Lewis has died.
Oh, they love me. They're loving it.
Ah.
He starred alongside Larry David on Curb Your Enthusiasm. David said today he's been like a brother to me. He had that rare combination of being the funniest person and also the sweetest. He was known for his dark comedy, literally and figuratively, dressing in black and performing self-loathing sets about his neuroses and addictions. Lewis had been living with Parkinson's disease. He died at his home in L.A. Tuesday night. He was 76 years old. There's an update on the status of Odysseus, the first U.S. spacecraft to land on the moon in more than half a century. Intuitive Machines, the Texas-based company that built the lander, says it's still operational but will be put to sleep tonight when its solar-powered battery runs out 2 days earlier than expected. The joint mission with NASA is being considered a success, though, because data was collected from experiments on the lunar surface. It landed with a tilt affecting its communication and battery charging capabilities. The team will try to get it going again in about 3 weeks when the sun's rays are expected to hit the solar panels. February freebie next, why many Canadians technically won't be paid for working tomorrow. Tomorrow is February 29th, that bonus day that comes around every 4 years. Each leap year creates a bit of a compensation conundrum. As Ann Gaviola explains, millions of Canadians may be working for free.
Once every 4 years, thousands, if not millions of Canadians may find themselves working pro bono on February 29th.
I get paid on a per course basis, so I guess this semester is 1 day longer, but I still get paid the same amount, so whoa, good point.
It's the top source of concern and consternation among employers and employees alike, based on questions being fielded by HR experts.
We have an AI-powered chatbot that over the last few weeks, the number of queries going into it by our current customers has been doubling, if not tripling, because everyone has this burning question.
Will tomorrow be a February freebie or a February bonus for you? It depends on how your compensation is set up.
For most employees, in fact, I'll say the vast majority of employees, you should expect it is going to be business as usual.
If you're paid hourly or per shift, you have an extra day's pay. But if you're a salaried worker with a fixed amount annually that isn't adjusted for leap years, then you're technically working for free on that extra last day of this unusual month.
Well, I'm a salaried employee. I work for the provincial government. So to me, it's just like, yeah, I guess in a sense, you're right.
It would be nice to take a day off. I'm not gonna lie.
Where things can get particularly complicated is for minimum wage workers who are compensated on an annual basis. If their pay falls below minimum wage because of the extra day, they may be entitled to extra compensation. And if that is the case, they can get in touch with the Labour Ministry in their province or territory. Donna?
Okay, Ann Gaviola in Toronto, thanks. That is Global National for this Wednesday. I'm Donna Friesen. Tonight's Your Canada is this snowy owl near Airdrie, Alberta. We'd love to see your Canada. Please email it to viewers@globalnational.com. And thanks for watching. Hope to see you here again tomorrow. Bye-bye.